We're just hearing that a search is underway for a 3-year-old British girl who's gone missing in the Algarve area of Portugal, and she went missing last night.
We don't have Madeleine McCann's body, but we expect that she's dead. We have some evidence that the suspect has done the deed.
An American criminal profiler says investigators are wasting their time and money looking for missing British girl Madeleine McCann because it is extremely unlikely the child was abducted.
I've looked at footage. My personal opinion is something's very wrong.
One policeman said to me, look, if the child was abducted, 1 hour later she's in Spain.
For the public, the McCann's stoicism meant they were guilty.
And they seemed to imply that you might have something to do with it.
And that was the last time I saw her.
Hey guys, it's Nim. What's up and welcome back or to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to the deep dive series. If you are new here and you do not know what the deep dive series is, this is basically where I sit down, I do my makeup, and I dive deep into a certain topic. And so for today's deep dive, we are going to be diving deep into the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. The Madeleine McCann case is a case that has captivated a lot of people, and it is one of the cases that still continues to have new suspects come out and evoke a sense of intense debate surrounding what really happened that night. And there's a lot of renewed interest about this case from ongoing documentaries. Firstly, let's do a little bit of background on the McCann family and their life before the disappearance. The McCanns, by all accounts, were called a loving and stable family who were living a very comfortable life in the English Midlands. Their family home in Rothley, Leicestershire, was nestled in a very quiet village, and it was known for its very strong sense of community. A lot of friends and neighbors of the McCanns described the family as warm and close-knit, and also the parents being very deeply connected to their children. The parents of the McCann family are Kate and Jerry McCann. Kate Marie Healy was born in 1968 in Houghton, Merseyside, and she was trained as a general practitioner after initially working as an anesthesiast. She was widely known for being quite a private and serious person, but she was also known for being very fiercely devoted to her children. And this would come to present itself in after Kate became a mother, she actually scaled back on her work hours, and she started working part-time so that she would get more time to spend with her children. She really wanted to focus more on raising Madeleine and later Madeleine's younger siblings. As a mother, people would describe her as very hands-on and highly organized, and how she was very active and devoted to being a mother and being present for her children. Then Jerry McCann, the McCann's father, Gerald Patrick McCann, was also born in 1968 in Glasgow, Scotland, and he came from a working class background and was considered to be highly ambitious. Jerry became a consultant cardiologist and was known for being quite confident, obviously focused and very driven to his career. But despite all of this, Jerry was a doting father. All of the McCann's friends would note that Jerry was very playful with his children, and he would be encouraging them to do outdoor activities, playing with his kids, and he would also read them very fun stories. As parents, you would never catch Kate or Jerry talking about their kids, referring to their children by saying like they wish they never had kids. Like, they were the type of parents who were always happy to talk about their children and still are to this day. Kate and Mary met in 1993 while they were both working in Glasgow and got married in 1998. Their relationship was grounded in their shared professional values as they were both working in the medical field and their mutual desire to raise a family. They would later move to Leicestershire for work opportunities and build a strong network of friends, and many of their friends had younger children of their own. Their marriage was described as very solid and loving in the years that led up to the disappearance. Madeleine Beth McCann was born on May 12, 2003, and she was 3 years old when she disappeared, which was just a few days from her 4th birthday. As for Madeleine's physical characteristics, at the time of her disappearance, Madeleine had fair skin, shoulder-length light blonde hair, and she had very striking green-blue eyes. Madeleine's eyes are a very, very big point in her case because Madeleine actually had a rare eye defect, which was a columba in her right eye. And basically what a columba is, it just makes your pupil look like different. I think it has something to do with like blood vessels or something, but basically it caused her pupil to appear misshapen. And so this anomaly in her looks became a central feature when it came to public appeals and missing persons posters. And when being described, Madeleine was described as very bright and very articulate for her age. Also, she was described as being full of energy, very outgoing, and a very inquisitive and curious child. Also, people would say that she actually had a large streak of independence for being so young. Madeleine enjoyed reading and dressing up and playing outside with her younger siblings. And Madeleine was actually known to be very, very protective of her younger siblings. And her parents said that she took the role of being a big sister very, very seriously. And she was very, very proud to be the big sister. Something else was that Madeleine had a favorite toy, which she named Cuddle Cat. It basically traveled everywhere with her. And it also became a very strong and iconic symbol in the case when it came to images of the case. And her mother, Kate, often carried it to a lot of their public appearances. Her parents would also later say that Madeleine was actually conceived after a very long struggle of infertility, which included IVF treatment. And this added to her parents and relatives and to others as Madeleine being seen as a cherished child. And Kate would even refer to her in all their appearances and interviews. She would refer to Madeleine as a gift, as their gift child, because she was their first child after this very long struggle. So I really do understand that. As for Madeleine's siblings, Sean and Emil McCann, they were born on February 1st, 2005, and they were conceived through IVF just like Madeleine was. And the twins were just 2 years old at the time of the disappearance, but they also slept in the same room as Madeleine on the night that she vanished. And Kate would be very transparent and vulnerable by talking about how this disappearance was very hard for her to deal with the grief of her missing child, but also having to remain strong for the children that she did have. As for the family dynamics, they were very, very active in their community, and the family valued routine for sure. They would have lots and lots of family outings, and they spent a lot of time outdoors. And photos before the disappearance would show the family going to the zoo or playing in the park, their birthdays and their fun holidays together. The McCann family had very demanding jobs and 3 young children. They didn't have a lot of time to unwind and relax, which is why they decided to book the family trip to Portugal. And they had a love for family trips because it was really a time where they could spend time with their kids away from the hustle and bustle of their lives. And the whole point of the vacation to Portugal was to unwind with friends, but also reconnect as a unit and a family. Basically, the trip in 2007 was supposed to be a peaceful escape. The family traveled to Club Ocean Resort in Praia da Luz. This was a very, very popular destination in the Algarve region of Portugal, and it was known for its very relaxed atmosphere and for its sun-soaked beaches, and how it had a very good and low crime rate and a nice sense of safety. So the family felt like this would be a great place because it wasn't just the McCanns, it included other families who also had younger children because the place was very family friendly as well. And the families then formed a larger group that would later be referred to in media coverage as the Tapas 7, because this family would often dine together at night at the resort's tapas bar, and they would basically rotate who would go and check on the kids, where the kids were sleeping in the nearby apartments. So the family arrived in Praia da Luz on April 28th, 2007, and the whole point of the Ocean Club was because it offered so many family-oriented activities and family-oriented amenities as well, with tennis courts and pools, and there was also a supervised kids club. And the McCann's daily routine was what you would kind of expect from a family vacation with 3 very, very young children. Basically, their routine was structured around pool time, beach walks, and a lot of children's activities. And then in the evening, the adults would reconvene at the resort's tapas bar, and they would rotate who would check on the children every 15 to 30 minutes. Now, the McCann family stayed in apartment 5A, which was a unit on the ground floor, and the front door was facing the parking lot area, and then there was a sliding glass patio door that opened into a courtyard area. And so the children's bedroom actually had a window that was facing the street, and it's important to note that it had external shutters. As for the day of the disappearance, before that night on May 3rd, 2007, the morning and the afternoon were, by all of the accounts, quite unremarkable and followed the same routine and the same pattern as the days before. The day began very, very calmly, and there was quite literally nothing to note about that morning. It was very, very ordinary to everyone who gave statements about the family and about what they did. As for the McCann's morning routine, they woke up early as usual, and then they ate breakfast at the Ocean Club Resort restaurant, and then they walked their children to the kids club. Madeleine and the twins spent the morning playing in the kids club under a lot of supervision. The activities that they did were arts and crafts, and they played some games, and they also had some activities on the beach. And then Jerry went to play tennis with some of the other friends from the Tapas group, and This was his main habit during the trip, while Kate also participated in some group activities. Around lunchtime and the late afternoon, Kate and Jerry picked up their children and returned to apartment 5A. And they just returned to the apartment to eat some lunch together. And then the family spent some time relaxing, with a lot of reports saying that they went to the pool or they played in the garden area near their apartment. By all of the witnesses who saw Madeleine that day, everyone said that Madeleine was happily playing with other children that afternoon, and a family friend even recalled Madeleine chasing butterflies near the pool. And I guess it is something that's quite symbolic in the later interviews. And then later in the afternoon, the children returned to the kids club for a little bit more playtime. And this would be the last time that Madeleine was seen by people outside of the family and their close circle of the Toppers group. And then at approximately 2:30, a photograph was taken of Madeleine sitting beside the resort pool, and she's smiling in the sunlight, and she was wearing like a cute little pink sun hat and a light pink white outfit. And this photo is often referred to as her last known photo, and there was nothing unusual noted about her behavior that day, about any of the family that day. As for that evening, after the parents collected the kids from the kids club at around 5:30 p.m., the McCanns returned once again to their apartment. Then the children were bathed and fed, and the family began preparing for their nightly dinner routine with the friends at the Toppers resort. And Kate later said in interviews that that night Madeleine appeared especially tired, but not unwell or like sick. She just was really tired. Now for the key timeline of the events that evening. Like I said, at approximately 5:30, the McCann children were picked up from the kids' resort, and Madeleine was reported to be in good spirits. And then from 6 to 7, the family got ready for the evening. The children got dressed in their pajamas, and then they got settled for bed. Then at around 7:30 p.m., Kate and Jerry put all 3 of the children to sleep, and Madeleine was placed in her usual bed, which was near the window, while the twins slept in their travel cots. Then at 8:30 p.m., all of the adults, including Kate and Jerry, gathered for dinner at the resort's tapas bar. And a rough estimate of how far the apartment was from the tapas bar was like 50 meters. So it was close enough to be seen, but unfortunately not close enough to be heard. At 9:05 p.m., it was Jerry's turn to go and check on the children. So he went to the apartment, he checked on all of the children because that's what he was supposed to do, and he saw that the children were sleeping, and then he left. And then it was also noted that he later stopped to have a chat with another tourist that was staying there, who's named Jerry Wilkins. And then at 9:15 p.m., Jane Tanner, who was another member of the group, walked past the apartment, and she later claimed to have seen a man carrying a child in pajamas. And this sighting would become the cornerstone of very early theories. Then at 9:30, Matthew Oldfield offered to check on the McCann children. Matthew later stated that he saw the McCann's bedroom door, slightly ajar, but decided not to go inside because he assumed that everything was okay and that all was well with the children. And then at 10 p.m., Kate McCann would go and check on the children, and this is when she discovered that Madeleine was gone. The window was open and the shutters were raised, and in a large state of panic and anxiety, Kate ran out back to the restaurant and screamed, "They've taken her." Now, as for the immediate aftermath, at 10:15 to 10:30, there was a frantic search that began around the resort. There were guests and the staff who searched and combed the area, shouting Madeleine's name. And then at 10:40 p.m., the resort then contacted the local police. The most disgusting thing about this is the resort contacted the police at 10:40 p.m. and at midnight was when the Portuguese police arrived to the resort. From midnight to 4 p.m., that is when they arrived, and then they failed to secure the apartment for 4 hours. And that is why key forensic evidence was probably contaminated and gone. Considering the fact that not only did the parents go in there to check on their kids or went in there multiple times because they were frantic about where their daughter was, but other people who were also searching for Madeleine could have just been walking in there because they didn't know which room belonged to the McCanns, something like that. So the evidence was likely contaminated. There are a lot of key points of contention in respect to this case. The apartment, for one, showed absolutely no signs of forced entry, despite the fact that even though the window and the shutters were open, it wasn't broken. The windows were just open and there was nothing that was broken or busted up. Another thing is also those 30 minutes in between the parents checking in on their children. Between 9:30 and 10 p.m. is where all of it most probably went down. And also the fact that there were quite a few conflicting witness reports. And the witness reports also muddied the timeline, and there were no CCTV cameras. When it comes to the initial investigations and questionings, the Portuguese police response were quickly criticized for their response time, as they should have been. The fact that they did not seal off the apartment as soon as they got there is an immediate issue, considering the fact that there is so many evidence that could have been there, like on the windows, on the shutters, all of that was destroyed. And there were also so many inconsistencies in their record keeping. And there were a lot of contradicting statements from the officers who responded. In 2003, Scotland launched Operation Grange, which was a re-examination of the case. Basically, investigators explored the idea that Madeleine was kidnapped by a stranger in a very well-planned abduction. Because like I said, there were no signs of forced entry. There was nothing that seemed out of the ordinary. It seemed like it was very, very thorough. And then in 2020, German authorities identified a new suspect by the name of Christian Bruckner, who was a convicted sex offender who lived in Portugal at the time of the crime. While authorities did believe that he was connected, no charges have been brought and evidence still remains circumstantial. But still, as of right now, Operation Grange still continues to be open, although it has scaled back significantly. And Scotland Yard has still reiterated that the case is still a missing persons case and not a homicide investigation. And there are still some key questions that remain. Like, what truly happened between 9:30 and 10 p.m.? And also whether or not this abduction was opportunistic or premeditated. And why were so many procedural errors made in the early stages of this investigation? I think the most haunting question of it all is Madeleine McCann still alive? But that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like, subscribe down below, turn on the post notifications so that you get notified every time I post a new video. And I really hope you guys are excited that the deep dive series is back. And I will see you guys all next time. Bye, besties!